Okay, welcome everybody. It's the November 15th public developer call for Gno.land. It's the 16th one we've held, and we will be starting with the contributor updates. The first we have up is Bertie's presentation from Costin and Jeff on No Social. So just for context, this is a new grant application they've been working on. And the opportunity now is to present it to you guys so you can ask questions and provide feedback.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Costin from Bertie. This is the first time I'm presenting in a dev hall. Hopefully not the last one. And very quickly, we want to share with you what we are thinking about doing next. What is our focus right now? We are focused on taking the first, or maybe they're not the first, but serious experimental steps in building a social media type of application, implemented decentralized with Gno, using actually the Gno mobile framework, which we are about to finish the first version, and make it so that we have a test bed where developers that build decentralized applications and want to test how their implementations would integrate, would work, would coexist, would function with social media features that are also seen like from a traditional understanding from Web 2 world, but also new things that are made possible with Web 3 technology. Now, all this talk more specifically, we took Twitter as an example, and we are building a Twitter-like application with basic functionalities of create an account, delete an account, post a message, post something on a wall, on a feed, react to somebody's post, subscribe to somebody's feed, mention, direct message, have notifications. Okay, we're starting to tackle the notification, the big notification topic, which is in decentralized world, not such an easy nut to crack. And once we get this basic thing up, it's going to be easier, to experiment, to open the door to some real interesting experiments. For instance, we are interested in the new DAO collaboration topic, which is from a Web3 world topic, how this could integrate, how this could look like, how this would function with a social media application. And we know that, our friends from Territory already made huge progress here. They're building a wonderful product. We want to inspire from them. We already started some discussions, and we want to see how we can bring into our first version of a social media application a DAO moderation feature. So, for instance, to have a feed, to have for a user to have on a feed only the content that has been moderated by a DAO, right? So that's interesting. More than this, of course, any integration with the smart contract and the social media type of application where it would make sense is we open the door here, right? So crypto exchange, polling applications are just some examples that we can do. At Bertie, we also worked to build, we built actually the first version of Wesh network, a decentralized communication protocol that is intended to be used when all the other traditional communication applications fail for messaging. So integrating this with the DM function in a social media application would totally make sense. Not just functional things we are interested in, but also more deeply technical ones. For instance, scalability of smart contract, of data storage for a smart contract, like how this functions. We're going to also dive into this one. The application is going to be mobile, and also we want to include a read-only web version. Now, a bit more in detail, we plan to do it in 6 months, out of which the biggest chunk or an important chunk will be to build the application, and we're going to add features gradually. And as we add them, we're going to also, when it makes sense, and once it makes sense, we're going to start these R&D topics, the big two big ones, which are the first, scalability of smart contracts, where we actually plan to do some explorations regarding optimization solutions of data, optimization of data stored as a Merkle tree. So this is going to be clearly one direction. So for each of the feature, when we post a message, when we subscribe to somebody, when we mention somebody, see how each of these scale. And once we have the subscriber feature going on, it's going to make sense to try to work, make something happen, at least technical documentation, but actually we want a real implementation of a DAO moderation feature. So that's this. Already we are opening doors here. And super interesting, actually, notifications function. We know that there is a notification core that is being built by the Gno core team. And this particular, and we want to use it, we want to use the Gno social smart contract to emit events using notification score. So already using this code, we know it's not ready. And we know that maybe also OnBlock would be interested in using this functionality. So we're gonna quite soon, hopefully, have a talk with them and see what we can do to lend a hand here and to make this evolve, maybe even finish it or reasonably evolve it. In a nutshell, this is it. Of course, we're going to have demos, one at the end or when each of these big topic finishes, but we plan to do as much intermediary demos as it makes sense, and also blog posts, but maybe workshops if you go in that direction, if it start making sense. Yeah, this would be, so this is our plan. If you have questions, you can ask them now or whenever.
If there is no question, I just want to explain something about, so yeah, the framework is named Gno Mobile. And so one goal is for anyone to be able to build something. So maybe Territory will use it for some stuff. Maybe Gno.land one day will have a mobile version. When maybe OnBlock we want to make the Adena mobile wallet too. In practice, Gno Mobile has a bad name because it's not limited to mobile. It could also run desktop applications. Or in practice, the real goal actually is not to create application, but to package a Go runtime and create the bridge with another language. So it could allow to create browser extensions where the goal is to have as few as possible code written in JavaScript. So with more isolation, for instance, having cryptography in like, in a closed binary and avoiding to share a memory and everything between multiple languages or with the browser. So Gno Mobile is can clearly help making a mobile application, but not only. And one thing I wanted to try is to ask Bertie's team to make a small demonstration. So first, they probably need to make some examples as code, but then maybe we should make a workshop with the core team for people interested in the core team to discover how it works, maybe try to build any kind of client, desktop, mobile, or whatever, to make connection with a Gno node or beyond, because once again, it's about running Gno code. So right now we make clients, but in practice, we could run a node. We could run some parts of Gno.lang. So yeah, I really wish Bertie can find a better name, so we all know what is and what is not Gno Mobile. And I then wish the core team and partners to start trying to make small applications with it. And in the meantime, this plan as a grant is that the Bertie team will use their own library. So they will dogfood Gno Mobile to create a mobile plus web plus maybe desktop at some point basic social application. But yeah, feel free, guys, as soon as you created some dApps with graphical stuff, like Gno.land or Flipando or whatever, or Territory, you should consider giving a try, and maybe we could just organize a workshop internally to get started more quickly. because yeah, probably people are just saying, "Oh, I actually don't want to become a mobile developer." In practice, it's an ecosystem to build native applications, not only mobile.
Thanks, Marcus, for this. And actually, we're now that we're finishing with GNOME Mobile, the first version, we're gonna think of how it makes sense to show it and to popularize it max, for everybody to get a better understanding and to see if it helps them. So we're gonna come back on this one in the next weeks. I mean, quite quickly.
Yeah, and the other option is just to wait for Bertie to dog food and have examples. But yeah, since I think we could right now using it and creating a shorter feedback loop, it could help the ecosystem just by being curious. So feel free to be curious.
Any other questions, I guess? Or Jeff, did you want to add anything? I don't know if you're here.
Just adding to Manfred, pretty soon you'll see us talking about Gno.land, formerly Gno Mobile.
So it's a new name?
Gno.land? No. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to derail this conversation.
Yeah. I can try suggesting some words, some Italian words ending with "no."
Maybe we're gonna make a poll.
I was gonna just say that maybe we make a poll.
And we have to rename the repo. That's hopefully we can bring over all our change history.
Oh, okay. I guess, is there anything else to add there, like Jeff, just on updates from you guys, or questions from the team on this topic?
No, we still have a couple open questions, but they're non-critical for wrapping up the project, having to do with clarifying error codes and things like that. I didn't pin them to this agenda today because you said you wanted to keep it short.
Yeah. But I mean, bring it up. I think if everyone's okay with that and you have some issues you would like to have addressed, it might just be good to highlight them. And I can add them in the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to? Well, the thing is, your agenda is not a pastable thing. I can. If you decide we have time, I can send you a link.
Is everyone okay if we do that?
Yes.
We give 5 minutes. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll paste the link now, and you can decide when you want to talk about it. So it's actually a question on an issue that Manfred opened, as usual. So, because he's always way ahead. Let me paste it here. And like I said, we can cover it at what point you want to in the meeting.
Let's do it now, if no one objects.
Okay, great. Well, I'll let you read the issue. Manfred opened this, I think, so that if a realm had kind of specific error types, that when you get an error from the realm, that you would, just like when you get a result that's an integer, you have a type that says it's an integer. And it'd be nice to know the type of an error. As I mentioned here in the front end, when we just do check TX, and it's just checking for gas and stuff, the Go code returns an error which is a specific error type. And there's a bunch of them listed, and it's really nice because then we can convert that into a gRPC enum so that the native application, which doesn't have access to checking the Go type of an error, but it gets a specific error type also. And it would be nice to see that, at the tail end when the transaction is finishing. Like I said, including if there's a language level error, like a nil pointer exception, still the only thing we get back is just an error string. And it would be nice to have enumerated some specific errors or the possibility for the realm itself to specify them so that the client interacting with it through the WebSocket can get something more than just an error string.
So Just a few comments on this. I think about error values, this comes into actually a larger discussion, which we also had problems with in GNOME.chess, which is that trying to parse out what the data that is returned by a realm right now makes you want to shoot in the head.
Right, it's a super bespoke format that's difficult to handle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like base 64 encoded weird internal string representation of the typed value that is within like the GNOME, like yeah. And it obviously has problems. I mean, of course, like the sort of what we have right now is that most realms, when they like instead of returning an error, they should actually panic, because panicking allows the transaction to be rolled back, right? So that is one thing to consider.
So that's a chicken and egg problem, because panic only gives you a string.
Yes, but I think you are able to parse out the error from like if you panic a string, right? You're able to get it out. At least I remember we were able to do this in GNOME.chess. We got the response.
That's error prone. Not to make a pun, but if someone fixes a spelling mistake in the error, then it's broken.
Oh yeah, totally. No doubt about that.
That's why we want to avoid it. And
yeah. So I think we will probably like still have that. We want to have like custom types for panics, so you don't panic just a string. You panic a class of errors and so on. So you make your users able to change to sort of change depending on that. And in general, I think about errors or as return values. I think that comes into larger discussion of making all return values from a realm sort of parsable reasonably from any other application. I would like that to be some kind of automatic JSON encoding, although it will likely be some kind of amino encoding. Just because it supports probably all the data types within the Novemer. But I think we like one of the things that probably isn't an issue right now, but it probably should be, is refactoring to change the output of the return values of a function of a realm function.
Maybe I understand why you want to panic, because you want to roll back any changes that were made to the global variables so that they aren't persisted. But it does break normal GNOME behavior, where everything returns a pair with some return value and an error, which means something, as you know. So I don't have the cosmic view. I'm sure you're also worried about inner blockchain functionality, and I don't understand that stuff. So, but I imagine you're keeping that in the back of your head too. If you return really weird stuff, it has to work across chains also.
Yeah, I'm personally not enough deep into the understanding of IBC to worry about that. I mean, for panicking, it's not just about the changes to the global variables. It's also about, if we panic on a node which rejects the transaction, this avoids getting replicated. The user avoids paying for money, paying for it with gas cost. They may have to still pay some amount of gas cost if the transaction actually goes through and is replicated validators and then eventually fails when it is actually executed. In the consensus round, but that's another matter. But yeah, I mean, we definitely need a better encoding for return values in general. Just to make sure that an external user of realms can parse any return value.
Yeah, but does that help the problem with errors? Because we're not going to return an error as a return value.
We can still, I don't have on top of my head what we do for returns, but we can like encode the like what is panicked, what is the value with the value that is passed to the panic as in the same format, right?
Right. So that it would be a structured string in the panic.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I just have a last suggestion. Actually, it comes with what you were probably work on, maybe with the unblock 2 on the emit and logs. I think one thing we want to keep stored forever and replayable is a short error, while having the stack trace and other details to be something mostly for debug. And if just imagine we implement the logging and emit. So emit is about storing on the event as a state on all validators, while logging is about the pub sub that we can subscribe if you're there. And with a logging that you can filter, technically we can make the client making the connection, listening both on the return of the action, but also on the logging associated with this call by filtering to whatever makes sense to do the filtering. And then you can make the client having the details of the panic, of the stack trace, of whatever, while having a short message which is stored on chain. I think this hybrid approach could allow to have nearly infinite length of details when you want to know the details, while having something short in terms of persisted disk.
That sounds good. Maybe the instead of just calling panic, you have something that looks like an error struct, and then you want to you call that to build the error struct, and then that thing panics. But then the stack trace would say exactly what type created the panic.
In terms of usage, I clearly expect people to use panic, but yeah, after in terms of processing, maybe we can have an API which just gives basic information. If we can type them, it's still better. But for the details, for stack trace and other things that we don't want to store, but it's also important to have them when we need them, I think we can make something like this. And having the panic handler making this simple double action, so appending things to the publishing something on the pub sub and just returning the concise answer, I think it's completely something we can do. And then it's up to the client to do whatever they want. If you are not a developer, if you don't need to check advanced stuff, you can just read the basic API. If you want to have more details, especially we can make all the CLI stuff and JS client, Go client to have an option to have additional things by listening to additional calls. Then we can make something for people that want this level of debug. So
Okay.
I suggest think about this, but actually it could be linked with another task we probably will work on about logging. Right.
I mean, I guess I'll leave this comment here. I just, I did my diligence and search for related issues, and I saw this. Is this the right place for me to kind of stick my finger in the pond here, or is there another issue I should use to track this, or proper error returns from realm function calls? Feel free to create a new issue when you don't find something exactly like this, while just if you can spend a few minutes to link related issues and hitting a small comment. Do you have an existing issue about the client being able to get the stack trace from a panic? I don't think so. Well, maybe that's where it belongs, because it sounds like the right solution. Yeah, but anyway, I think we'll have a generic way of logging anything. This log can be what you call you can import from contract log and log whatever you want. So as a DApp writer, you can log things on the pub sub. But as soon as we have this new way of sending things and filtering filters, basically, we can also expect the chain to publish some debugging features, especially panic, errors, or things happening in the transaction itself and not only in the contract. Interesting. Is this related to the indexer that Milosh is working on, which can report when the transaction is finished?
Yes and no, because the log won't be persisted. So it's really a pub sub. You can be there and have the notion. It will be linked on some other parts because we'll need to update the WebSocket client, but in practice it will be different.
I like that better because it sounds like we would get this through the same connection that we used to broadcast.
The same connection. It's the same connection, but you need to make an additional subscription with the good filters.
And then if the transaction, if that same thing will announce when the transaction successfully finishes, then that would solve our problem.
Yeah, I think we should just make the client having an option to basically subscribe automatically with a filter equal the just sent transaction ID. So by default, all the official clients, the Go one, the JS client one, and especially the official CLI can make automatic subscription on things happening. And maybe if we have a -- verbose flag, we display everything happening. And locally, when you develop without a blockchain, with a Gno test or whatever, we can just make something equivalent where the import log has a different behavior. So on-chain, the import log will pub sub things with your transaction ID, your contract ID, whatever makes sense, the kind of filters we could be looking for. And when you are developing locally, the import log on the contracts will just log on stdr what you want to log. So as a developer, you can add the import log, and as a client developer, you can also have more details on what's happening with the transaction and have multiple states. And what Miloš will do will probably be linked in this concept of not having a single synchronous reply to the transaction, but having intermediary states. And maybe we can just have something which is between 0 and infinite amount of logging metadata.
Right.
While I think Miloš will be more fixed. For successful transaction, we'll always have the same amount of entries, and for a failed one, you can have a little bit less depending on where you failed.
Great. So since we're talking on Friday, we can just talk about the administrative details of GNOME Mobile, how much of this we want to stuff in the next 2 weeks, maybe just placeholders and stuff, but we can handle that on Friday and save more time on this call.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the feedback. That sounds great. I think that's the pub sub thing is the right way to go.
Cool.
All right. Wunderbar.
Was there another one, Jeff, or should we move on?
No, that's it. I mean, I'm doing the exact opposite of what you wanted to do on this call. We're already halfway through. So
I mean, I think it's a learning experience, and we're gonna improve it, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, okay. So if that's it, then I don't know. I did have OnBlock territory because they're working on the Hackerspace VRF, and it would be cool to hear on that. And Flipando. So at OnBlock, do you guys have any quick updates you want to share with us? Or I know you guys just had the cool release.
Yeah, just 2 quick things. We are working on GNOSwap to hopefully launch the beta by December. We're working on integrating the realms to the front end. That's it for GNOSwap, really. And today we uploaded an issue that relates to the support for air gap accounts that I showcased in the last developer call. It is number 1375. Yeah, sure. Here's a link to the issue. And we need some feedback on our planned user flow and some ideas on how to improve the usability of QR codes from an air gap environment. And that's pretty much it for this week.
I'm reading personally. I wasn't aware of this issue. Oh, okay, I remember now. Yeah, on my request, I asked you if you ever start creating new things like QR code, etc., to try proposing making a standard and not only something unique to Adena. Okay, I will read next week. I don't know if you have a clear question or suggestion for people here when we read your issue.
Well, if I can hijack, maybe again, Manfred, we can talk about this on Friday, but right now, the GNO client interface doesn't have the separate steps of create transaction, sign transaction, and send the signed transaction. Do you think we should make a placeholder for that too, and so that GNO mobile apps can do air-gapped transactions?
Definitely. The question I have, because right now we are actually doing what I believe should be the opposite. We're doing something and I believe we should do the opposite. Right now we have a GNO client library to make it easy for a Gopher to make client. And this is using the keys crypto client library in TM2, which is about creating CLI. And it's opinionated on this. And for instance, a crypto key client has an option to make air gap, but by default, yeah, it's opinionated on creating, for instance, the make TX with the broadcast option. We make everything at once. So one option is to continue like this. So you create the air gap alternative API, and you just have 3 calls instead of 1, or whatever makes sense. The other solution is, maybe we should discuss with Ray today or another day, if it makes sense that TM2 client becomes not only the single library in TM2 to make things, but just the client is the things for CLI, while this library and other libraries can actually depend on another one which is not existing yet, another level without the CLI opinionated API. So we make an API about manipulating crypto directory, crypto wallet, crypto keys, etc. And both the TM2 crypto client can stay opinionated in CLI while using this new sub-level API, and GNO client can do the same. Because right now, GNO client is actually tricking a lot to use the CLI API without manipulating.
Yeah, there's an interface with an abstraction like sign or call, but we would have to beef up that interface. But you're right, underneath we just cast the generic key base to the file-based one that we know we're using.
The key-based API, in my opinion, is good enough. The part that I'm not sure it's good enough, and maybe it's too much a mix of the CLI opinionated and the low-level implementation, is clearly all the calls like make TX, etc. The key-based one about listing the accounts, etc., except for few additions that you made to list without typing a password, etc. I think this one is okay-ish. The one I dislike is about making transactions, signing. I think we should add another layer just about the crypto primitives and keeping the key clients something you only import when you create a CLI and not when you try to create a custom client.
Right.
But yeah, it's another topic.
Yeah.
I still owe Ray a review on another PR, and after this, I will try to clarify my proposal to improve the low-level API for crypto. And if we go in that direction, then I suggest GNO clients to stop importing the client opinionated library, to just use the low-level one. But right now you can do the air gap thing. I just disliked initially how I'm using GNO client, and I just think the air gap will make it worse, because it will even be stronger in trying to use a low-level to use an opinionated CLI API behind a generic GNO client.
Right.
So probably in 2 weeks we can decide what we do for GNO client, but before we need to decide what we do for TM2 crypto client.
Right. All right. That's pretty much what I had in mind. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Unblock. And to keep moving, Territory, do you want to give us a quick rundown on the Hackerspace number 7 issue? I can open it and share.
Yep, sure. I think Gopher is in, right? Chico, if you want to maybe have a quite report. Basically, we shared the data about VRF reports, research reports yesterday. And we have we need basically some feedback, and we have questions, but I think it will not be useful to go deeper in details right now, but maybe just VK, if you want to give an overview and yeah, quick reports.
Yep. Let me share our quick updates. So, we have built a version 1 code base for VRF, and it's mainly designed for justice DAO solution. And justice DAO is one of a conflict solve module based on the VRF. And now we are planning to expand the VRF with more features, and we have sort of several functionalities to expand. So one of the thing is continuously consuming VRF request. So for now, it's designed for one-time use, and it might be required to use continuously. So, for example, once per hour, and also it would require performance counting of the data feeders as well. And yeah, all of these are these requires deep thought and need to know what's already built, and maybe it would be better to have a dedicated core to decide the priorities and the features to add on VRF. And it would be nice to have no core team and the teams that consumes VRF on their products to be nice to join and add input for the development direction. So the link for the latest VRF is shared, and I think it would be nice for all the core participants to read the document, yeah, and have a dedicated core for that.
Any questions or comments, like right off the bat on this one?
So as I said on
Good.
the chat, basically I expect people who like Drago to give a look because they will probably use it. I don't remember, but I think so. Yeah, someone else was also expecting an advanced, a real random function that we can trust to be random and not guessable. So if you're a user of random, please review and give your feedback. And just anyway, VRF is an important topic in the Web3 ecosystem with crypto consensus, networking, asynchronous topics. So yeah, it's basically an advanced problem in the landscape of oracles. So anyway, people from the core team should give a look. I will give a look on this both on VRS, but also on opening the doors to more oracle patterns around Gno. And I suggest the core team to do the same, which can be about VRF with consensus, VRF without consensus, or just bridging oracles on chain. For instance, developers are currently making scripts to try to push GitHub things on chain. In practice, maybe 50% of the Oracle code could be similar with the VRF1. VRF1 is special because it needs more consensus and more proof of real randomness. But yes, this topic about oracles should clearly be something we should care more in the core team. So yeah, I request the core team to be more curious on this topic, please. And I will do my review also. Is there anyone in the team who wants to give a look?
I'm just thinking, should we still have like a math rand package to give like a very sort of basic kind of random function which just mimics over what Go does, or should we leave like the whole topic of random functions to specific VRF packages like the one Territory is making?
I think we should keep both and basically consider VRF as being the crypto round, while math round should be similar to Go as it is today. So about making things that looks not linear, but without this concept of security. And maybe at some point a good VRF. No, I don't think VRF will ever be official. We should always have all the external services that can be something, a chain link or things to have a VRF, a rundown or whatever should always not be official. But the day we have something that, for instance, IBC could have VRF functionality at some point. It could make sense to think like this. It's clearly not the case, but the day we do it, we could develop not in TM2, not in Gno.land, but in Gno.land specific blockchain. We could extend Gno.land to have an import crypto round that actually is using the VRF transparently. It's clearly not something I expect to have, especially in short term. But in practice, this is something we could imagine, having a generic Gno.land without this notion and having a link. So basically extending the STD libs to just specifically in Gno.land to have a new keyword which will use an IBC method to get VRF. Territory's system is not yet IBC. It's more the standard Oracle system that works on most of the blockchain ecosystems. But yeah, just to reply to your question about math one versus VRF, I think VRF should be considered as the crypto round and could, in practice, one day be mapped with an STD libs if it becomes official. But I doubt it will happen, and especially in short term. But yeah, anyway, if people from the core team can give a review, once again, it can be on the crypto part, or it can be on another topic that I clearly wish we improve the support in Gno about oracles in general. It will open doors to many new patterns and type of clients to have better Oracle support.
Okay. If then the call to action is for some of the team to take a look and provide feedback on this, then.
Yeah.
Just the last one is Flip or Dragos. Do you have anything since last week that you need to share or that are blockers for your deadline to launch Flipando? Anything you need to cover?
First of all, sorry for joining from mobile. My connection is extremely sparse. That's why I'm not that active. So I think I got about 80% about what's being talked. Just three main topics. And apologies if I'm getting cut. Just three main topics. I'm ingesting feedback after the last demo. Thank you so much to everybody who provided feedback. I have one from Morgan that I need to look. And it touches briefly on math random, and I will leave a comment there about how I see going forward with this. It's a very hacky approach, good enough for the game, but definitely not good enough for true randomness. I'm also ingesting feedback about looking over the VRF implementation. I'm really curious about what's going on. But time has been a constraint for me during last week. The second update is related to the board that has been added to the project. So everyone who's interested in the development of Flipando as it stands right now can look at the board and see what the progress is. I'm currently trying to nail down the last public and work on a testnet, probably testnet 3 for now. Still optimistic about having a public deploy of Flipando by the end of November. And the third update is that I started to work on a new spec for a productivity app, task management app, if you want. I'm working closely with Michel. And on that same note, I'm also working with Michel on some marketing bits, like a few, talks or interviews to make things a bit more public and to try to spread the word about what's happening in the ecosystem. So all in all, that's my update for now. And sorry again for joining for mobile. My connection is not ideal today.
Thanks, Dragos. Yeah, just for context, that I think we talked about it last time, but Dragos has an on-chain project management program, I guess you would say. Anyway, so we would be hosting a workshop for those interested with Dragos to attend and learn about it, and then he might be helping us next year with some of that work. Right, Manfred? And Dragos, I think that's a little bit the plan. Anyway, cool. Moving on, there's just one other thing I wanted to highlight with everyone because it would be, it's kind of still an outstanding issue, not actually issue, but grant that has come up. And it would be really good if people could weigh in since it's a little bit there. I have an idea of where we can go initially, but it's a grant proposal from Block Dudes around multi-sig infrastructure. Jay did provide some feedback here. They've done a little demonstration on their issue here. So if anyone has thoughts on this grant application, it would be very much welcome since it's kind of sitting there waiting for review as well. I will post it here. Thank you. Okay, and the last but not least, we'd be inviting to an upcoming dev call the Varmeta team. We had a call with them to understand what they're doing, and they're working on a No Unity SDK, and they are moving their app to Gno.land eventually. So if everyone would be okay, we would invite them to do a quick presentation in the next upcoming weeks. Okay, that's it for that. Should we just go through some of the other general core team, i.e. the format for this call based on some feedback? Hold on, it's probably best if I screen share, right? So we can all come to an agreement on how these go. Okay, maybe I will just share what I think based on discussions with Milos, reading through some of the comments from Antonio and others. And then we can maybe look at these comments, or people can just weigh in on this. And then we have a plan moving forward. So what I've understood is that what we could do is have a biweekly call. It's always public. We have the Gno.land developer calls. We have one slot dedicated to no core updates. And it would be bucketed into what to know. So basically the highlights of what's coming, major milestones. This would probably be an update from the DevRel team. Then the next focus would be under Gno.land blockchain. This would be supported by the main people focused on Gno.land blockchain. Tokenomics would be obviously Michael. VM and Gno.lang would probably be related to B1T, Petar, and Mark. Tenement 2, Milos, and then we'd have the contributor updates Q&A. So we would try and jam pack this into 1 hour along with a presentation. And then the second hour would be more what we've been doing, which would be free form, optional, deliberation, discussion, this kind of thing. Just before we talk about how we want to do this, the private call would be canceled. So it would just be the public call once every 2 weeks, 1 hour focused and structured, 1 hour free form. And we could imagine that in January, maybe we need a 30-minute road to mainnet call from Manfred to update everyone, but we can cross that bridge. But this format does require more work from everyone else. So I think that's what I would like to highlight, is that if we go this way, it will require everyone to put in the updates that they think are relevant to the certain sections. So every 2 weeks, we'd open up the GitHub issue probably on a Monday, following these buckets. And then the people that are most focused on these areas would highlight their main topics that they wanted to go over to get feedback or share with the ecosystem. And then that would be taken, put into a presentation format, and then as usual, recorded and would be under the More You Know recap, which we post in the blog. So that's the proposal. Could people weigh in if they're pretty committed to this structure? Because like I said, it will require more input and engagement, I believe, from my understanding. So based on that, I put it to you guys too. Like, what do you think about this? I know, Morgan, you had some ideas, Tongwan, Antonio. Could you guys give a bit of feedback so I can kind of like know how to move forward?
So on my comment, I sort of didn't quite understand that. Sort of, we were sort of coming to say that we want to do this bi-weekly.
Yeah.
I was sort of what I was saying in my comment is that I was proposing like that we split the dev calls. So like on we have 1 week the dev call, like say Wednesday at 5 p.m. as we always did. And then the other week maybe either Wednesday or another day at 9 a.m. I'm talking CET time, but with the idea that as we were talking about to sort of not make on block stay awake up until 3 in the morning to participate in these calls essentially. And JK Gopher as well, which I sort of remember is also in Southeast Asia. And which, 9 a.m. would still be sort of a reasonable time for a lot of the core team, and actually possibly for some people joining in from LA if they feel like joining in at midnight, but besides the point. Then I was sort of a bit wondering about this. Of course, the concern about sort of splitting it like this is one that kind of be duplicating the efforts for the dev calls, and that we would kind of be splitting, like instead of having a big forum of discussion every 2 weeks, we would have like 2 smaller forums of discussion, split. We should sort of think like if that's something reasonable to do or not. But yeah, that's sort of one, especially on block. I feel like that it's better to have a big forum where we would be fine with kind of splitting it. And yeah, aside from this, that was my main point.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll leave it on to Antonio and everyone else.
Yeah, from my point of view, the only thing I was like really proposing is trying to have a more defined structure for everything, because my feeling is that sometimes we are like going around some topics and then we are missing others that maybe are more important, and having some specific slots, and if people from the outside that they want to talk about some demo or some issues they are having with as an example, the panics that we were talking about before. Yeah, we can have like a kind of form or something and let people beforehand to reserve a spot, and then we can like reserve that amount of time to talk about that. Yeah, basically it's to make them less chaotic.
Okay, so like the idea would, in that case would, so I'm just trying to consolidate. The idea would be then we would, I mean, because I do independently ask people for things they want to cover, and I get some feedback from people, but maybe having it a bit more what exactly do you want to talk about? Can you please add it to the issue? And then we have more of a time structure.
Yeah, exactly. And if we have like written down issue that we can like read beforehand, or some specific document or something like that, that we can prepare beforehand to be prepared to talk about something really specific and to do specific questions, instead of like being the first time that we are facing the problem that we are talking about, would be even better.
Okay. Okay. I mean, we can maybe try a few different iterations if that's okay with everyone. Figure out what kind of works, what doesn't. Dongwon, you also had a proposal here.
Yeah, Dongwon was feeling a bit under the weather today, so I guess I can kind of elaborate. What Dongwon was suggesting was that we can, well, the time really doesn't bother us too much, because we can just start the day after a little bit later, so the time is fine. But what Dongwon was suggesting was that we should have two different types of calls. One solely dedicated to updates from the core team, like something like Road to Mainnet, and what the team has been focusing on for the past 2 weeks, and what the team will be focusing on for the next couple of weeks. So that'll be one type of call, and we can dedicate the other call to all the contributor updates. And yeah, like Ilker mentioned, we can keep the call below an hour, hopefully. And if we can somehow structure and make the call more defined, like Antonio suggested, I think we can definitely manage it and keep it under an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, and another thing I want to add was that if we keep it well defined, I think the contributor sync call could be community driven and less dependent on someone to host it, or well, yeah, it can be community driven. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like this, actually, to be honest with you. Like, my additional comment here was, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Ethereum PM calls. I would say check them out. They're really, that's why I got into this, is I liked how they structured them. And so that was the inspiration. But this might work quite well if you guys are, so if, like, moving forward, how would everyone think, like, okay, let's not focus on the time issue now, like the time being the time zone, but we focus on the structural issue first, and then if we want to make different time zones work, then we can do that. But we first focus on the structural, being like 1 week is for the no core team to do the 1 hour call that focuses on the main buckets that outlined with Milos, and then 1 week is the 1 hour call, but we focus on the contributor things like we do. So we break this call up into 2, and it's a weekly thing, and it's only 1 hour.
I think this is a great idea.
Okay. I don't know who said that, but that's good.
That was me.
I guess, and then I guess if we want, or like if you guys want, we can, because I know, like, personally, it's quite interesting to hear Morgan and Manfred discuss that's what I meant by the Ethereum PM call, discuss their reasoning behind certain decision makings and offering alternatives to different topics, and kind of a debate. And like, personally, I would love to be able to get more of you talking because it's heavy on the Morgan and Manfred right now. So if there's a suggestion there, I'm also very happy if we want to from time to time include more of the meta discussions.
I'd say, like, we can start by splitting these calls and making, like, 1 hour focus calls, which one week is the core team, 1 week is the contributors and partners.
Okay.
And we'll sort of iterate on that. Like, if we sort of feel that there is not enough free form discussion, then we can sort of say, okay, what can we do to reintegrate the free form discussion, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, this sounds, I mean, if everyone's kind of in agreement, this sounds like a plan. I think that just for the core sync call, it will require a little bit more like input. And I would say that based on this, I would connect maybe with John, and we can get the ball rolling on this, if that's okay with you, John.
Yep, sounds
Oh,
good.
cool. Okay,
I do
so
imagine one thing, which is, if we have something that's blocking us,
Mhm.
and it's the week for the core sync call,
Mhm.
I completely agree that to focus on that. I just wonder if there could be 5 minutes to see if, just to bring attention, like, hey, Milosh, we're blocked on this. Can you look at it? And you can say, no, I don't have time, but Morgan can, and that's it. Not to dive into it and solve it, but 2 weeks sounds like a long time to me,
Mhm.
potentially, to bring attention to something that's blocking us.
okay.
I mean, I think, yes, we can still informally overrun in the sense that, we
Yeah.
sort of make it specific that it's 1 hour, but
Yeah, like I said, not to dive in and discuss the issue, just bring eyeballs on it and to get a feedback on whether offline, it can get some attention.
Yeah, just at the end of the call, say, can we stay another 10 minutes with someone in the core team, and
That's it.
And the discussion is the interesting part, personally. That's, I think, what is quite interesting, how you get to the conclusion. But we do also have our biweekly tech syncs directly with you. Maybe that will
Right.
help. And then, like Morgan said, we can allocate a little bit
Right.
of time.
As long as we offset them, that would solve the problem.
That would
You're
solve the
absolutely
problem.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can talk about that and figure out how to offset them with you guys, and maybe also with territory and on block. Okay, cool. I guess we got consensus on that, sort of. Okay, there were just there were a few other topics. If we have about 15 more minutes, I don't know if we can get through them.
I just have another suggestion regarding the organization of the meeting. So one of the goals, especially in January, is to start making more frequent updates on what's happening, etc. Last time, I think I played Jeff's or Christine's video by sharing my screen. So basically, I played the Loom video while we were discussing here. I think this is a good way, especially for people making frequent reports, especially, for instance, the launch report. I think it's not only for this call, but something I can share with the rest of the teams in the company, etc. So we should probably encourage people to prepare Loom video. We can share them, we can record them again, so they are efficient, they are shareable as an individual video, but then we can just start some meetings by playing 10 minutes of very efficient video to just get a fresh update on all the last topics, and then we can have the free form of discussion. So to make it even more efficient, and also to allow extracting some part of this meeting for other teams, so we don't need everyone to listen to the 2 hours or 1 hour or whatever. I think we should just encourage people to use Loom and play Loom video. And the second thing is, right now you manually craft a PR with the suggested topics, and actually it's not easy to edit, and so what about making a switch to AppMD or Google Doc?
Yes, please. Yes.
Then we can make something that we are doing with the tech team right now by just investing the few first minutes to write, so we are all on the same doc, and we can just have a section where we list the topics we would like to discuss about. So just last update or whatever. We can also just let our section empty. It's not mandatory, but if we want to speak about something, we can write. And for 2 minutes, we have silence, but we have fresh ideas we want to discuss. And the goal with this doc is not only to prepare the topics before making the meeting, but also to be able to take note. I think we will all be able on the same doc to, for instance, create action items for the next week or whatever. So basically, we make a doc that you can still bootstrap, Michelle, because I think we all enjoy your initial report. So you bootstrap it. We start by 2 minutes, just listing topics we want to discuss on a personally. And then we can just read the doc, update it with action items, ideas, questions, or whatever. And at the end, we can make a pull request with a final result. So you don't make a pull request before, but after. So 2 suggestions. It's not about changing what you said. It's compatible. One is to switch to Google Doc AppMD and make it more multi-user interactive, not only you, Michel. And second one is about using more Loom and having someone sharing the Loom video at the beginning of the meetings. If we can, and I can try showing the example.
No, well, first of all, that's a wonderful thing that I don't have to do it on a GitHub issue anymore or PR pull request. So yeah, I would love that. That sounds good. So we incorporate what you're saying, Manfred, and the new proposal, and we start to integrate some videos as well.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, just I didn't know if you wanted to move on to the portal loop. But there is, I don't know, Ilker, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you want to give a quick, what we're going to plan to do with the No Playground?
Of course. So we have a soft launch coming at 23rd this month, which means we will deploy the playground at play.gno.land and just go to Gno.land Discord and tell people about it. Basically, we will make a small announcement in the channel and then just go with like one-on-one interactions with the people in the channels that are kind of asking for help with their code. We will show them the playground. We will possibly move their code. If they shared any code, we will move them to the playground and share the link with the applied solution. Kind of creating this word of mouth thing in the Discord itself, and then we will see how people use the playground. Probably they will start kind of start using it to kind of share links, share code with each other, and maybe they will enjoy the deploy feature by using the Adena wallet, and and then this way we will be collecting some feedback starting from 23rd. Just before that, I mean, actually today we started to share the staging link with you guys so that you can give us some early feedback if you can, and we could just fix some more stuff before we do this silent launch at Discord at 23rd November. And then around mid-January, we want to like make an actual launch with some like big announcements on social media. And by that time, we will be improving the playground with the feedback we gather from the soft launch, and also we'll be building another feature, which is about it's a new web page, and it will be under GNO ID. This is the playground website, but we also have GNO ID, which is more like an advanced version of the playground. So there we will have this new page, and this page is about interacting with the realms that are actually deployed to the blockchain. It could be the testnet tree, or it could be a local chain in your machine, or it could be like any chain. This web page will be able to connect to any blockchain by using by the custom node address that you provide. So basically, after you deploy something in the playground, we will give you a link to this web page, and then you will see your realm, the realm that deployed to the blockchain, and you will be able to call the functions of the realm that you just deployed, again by connecting Adena. So that's kind of, I mean, once we have this page, then we will kind of have this whole workflow. You deploy and you interact, which is great. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we are now doing the soft launch, and then and in the actual launch, you will have this web page. And yeah, that's it about it. And if you can share your feedbacks, you can. And if you don't have any tokens, we could send you some tokens. Michelle has a lot of tokens, so just tell us. But yeah, after 23rd, you don't need to ask for any tokens, because you will be getting your tokens under the hood while you are using the playground. If you don't have the necessary like balance in your account, you will be bringing them to your account from the faucet, so you don't need to worry about that. But meanwhile, we need to send it to you manually. So yeah, that would be it with my update. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So if you guys, I shared the staging link here. It would be really nice to get everyone's input and feedback. And if you want to share your address with me, I can send the tokens. Okay, do we want to do quickly the portal loop, Manfred?
So no demos this week. Basically, portal loop needs to be deployed and needs to be automated in terms of a backup restore strategy. So we should have most of the things finished, I think, for the production, because we still have some things regarding local development. But just speaking about the Gno.land domain to switch from a static website to a special staging. Basically, we need to create infrastructure, and then so it's a special one. We need to make the script that will, on each redeploy, make sure to preserve the recently created transactions, append them to the rebuild the Genesis, and then build a new, launch a latest version staging with all the previous transactions. And then we will have a demo. So right now you can see most of the portal loop contracts in effect on staging.Gno.land, because they're already merged. I still need to finish the WorksDAO V0 contract, but you already have the new front end, the new sub pages, and actually people can already try to improve UI for Alexi. Developer can try to create the events realm to list upcoming events. The blog system can already be improved because the staging.Gno.land is already reflecting what we have on GitHub. The thing is to make the deployment and the restore backup strategy to not only have the latest Git, but also the previous transactions. Because if you go on staging.Gno.land, for instance, you won't have all the blog posts. The blog posts weren't hard-coded on GitHub. They were sent with transactions. And our goal is to have the mix of latest Git version and all the previous transactions, including boards comments, boards forums, blog posts, created users, and contracts created by anyone. So next time we will have a demo. I cross my fingers. And the last thing to be concluded and to be done in Portal Loop will finally not be in the portal itself, but just to finish some details to make the local development a way easier and faster. So people like Dragos will be happy to test our new ways of developing contracts more quickly by having a faster refresh of the blockchain, and basically be able to update some run code and see the result in 0 to a few clicks and in a few seconds. So basically, Albert needs to set up the infra, and I think Albert and Miloš needs to fine tune and the deployment restore script to use the new Genesis functionalities, and we should be good for portal loop.
Okay, sounds good. So in 2 weeks, a demo. I guess this is getting to the freeform part, right? So I did have 2 from Morgan. They are, and do you want me to link them, Morgan?
I can present and show what I do. So show as we go along. Shall I sort of no, whatever. I'll get started on just let me close the notifications first. So the first one I wanted to briefly touch upon was this issue that has been open for a while. Was first sort of mentioned in a PR made by R3V4S, and sort of Leon, sort of made a new issue to talk about it. I wanted to sort of quickly understand what are the ideas and if any like consensus about what we should do for manipulating time and block height in tests. So as it currently stands, we have, I believe, the sort of the skip heights function, if I recall. All right, wrong file. Tests imports skip heights. Yes. So this simply adds some given amount of heights to the heights here, and so can simulate changing the height of the block height of a transaction. And on top of this, we also have in test context that if you go to OS test, there's a special function OS test.sleep, which takes in a time duration and adds that to the internal sort of timestamp. I don't like this, but aside from me not liking it, I wanted to sort of gather some ideas about what we should do about this. Did I share the issue? No. Okay. Repost that. Oh no, I did share it.
You did, yeah.
So the way I see it, we should either have test skip heights not manipulate the timestamp, or if it does, it manipulates it with sort of an equal amount of seconds. So 5 blocks skipped means that we advance the clock further by 5 seconds. And the second question is whether, with this or separate from this, we should have also a test set timestamp function, which just changes the timestamp within the exec context. Manfred was also proposing that he was suggesting modifying time now to return like the block time plus some kind of fake time based on the opcode counter. I advise against this because I don't think like the opcode counter should be information that is in any way available within the VM. But I digress on this. So with this overview, hopefully you have some ideas about this, and just wanted to gather whether we have some opinions or what you guys think we should do in this regard.
I just read the last comment 1 minute ago, taking into account your comment and basically proposing to replace the opcode by just the frame. So each time we have a frame, because we call another function or whatever, we just increase so block metadata timestamp plus frame, basically.
So is that the number of frames on the stack, or is just the number of frames created?
On the each time we enter or exit a frame, basically.
Right. I still sort of think that could lead like that is kind of behavior that people will necessarily rely on, and will kind of be confusing if they don't specifically know, and if they're coming from Go, right? Where it's already confusing, right? Because it's not normal system time now. But especially like if it's doing some weird things around frames, I think it could be even a bit more. But I mean, I sort of like the way it is right now, which is that it is a fixed value whenever you run whenever you execute time now. Like it is always that because it marks the idea that you can't actually get the system time.
I agree, and actually we can just keep it fixed and maybe have people who want in transactions additional precisions to manually I don't know, compute the frame stack length or whatever. Yeah, so no problem. Let's keep it fixed until people complain and want something dynamic. So let's focus on the initial part. And then what about having just skip 8 multiplied by an amount of seconds for unit test, I mean?
Yeah, as I said, I am of the opinion that it could be a good idea. I think it should be just the block time should be 1 second, just to sort of make a direct mapping between the time and the block height.
Yeah, we can completely do this, especially for consistent unit test. We probably hardcode a date. So at the end, let's make just it readable with lazy eyes. Okay, just updating my comment to put 1 second instead and waiting for additional feedback. For information, I linked another PR, the Tamagotchi one, 1359, so you can see the reference in this issue. Because I had the exact same problem. The Tamagotchi example was focused on simulating virtual ticks using time differences. So I clearly need this call to make a reliable unit test.
Jeff, I believe to start talking.
Oh, just a stupid question. Like in the board's, message board realm, and it puts the timestamp of your message. Where does it get that?
Here, it's taken by the block metadata timestamp, which is decided during the consensus. So
yeah, my instinct would be not to try to support time.now. Of course.
Time.now is already supported, and it's not something based on the clock, but it's based on the metadata of the block. So you submit your transaction with your client without specifying a timestamp, and the validator receiving your transaction when proposing the transaction for this round will propose a timestamp, and if approved. So right now I think we are not checking anything, but later we can at least check that the timestamp is always growing or whatever. Then time.now returns the metadata timestamp.
Yeah. My assumption in writing a realm would be that conceptually it executes instantaneously. So I shouldn't rely on like a loop checking time.now to see if it increases or something.
Yeah, and that was basically what Morgan was suggesting, to just make the value fixed and just looking at as it is today with block metadata timestamp without making it dynamic based on whatever metric. And I think we should go in that direction. But yeah, right now we have time.now, it works, and this issue was more about how we can test it in unit test. We have STD test skip height to skip 1, 2, 10 height block numbers. And we lack something to simulate that the time has passed. So we cannot, for instance, the Tamagotchi will look how long since the previous update to decide if the Tamagotchi is hungry or whatever. And for such example, or for DeFi more useful examples, we need a way from unit test to simulate that 1 hour passed.
So as you can see here, Jeff, this is the implementation of the now function. This is actually called by time.now internally. So it returns secs, nanoseconds, and the full timestamp with the two combined. And it just returns the parameter which is within the machine execution context, right? So these are some parameters that are passed during execution, from the blockchain layer to the Gno.VM layer, right? And essentially, this is the information that you can access within the VM, and it's things that we all know about, like a rich send or a rich caller, but it's also the timestamp of the block, right?
Okay, beautiful. Thanks.
So I'm going to move on from this. If you do have opinions to add to this issue, feel free to comment. We're looking to do something which can easily show what the behavior would be like on chain, while allowing still a good amount of flexibility in what a user may want to test, what you may want to test, as a matter of fact, as Gnofers. I'll move on from this to a couple proposals that I made. So this is mostly like to give a rough idea and to maybe kickstart some discussions. Is Harim here today? No, he's not. Anyway, I'll still make a rough sort of overview of this one. So right now, like I was looking to solve a problem we have on a PKG doc. So the core team, and I'm sure possibly even some of you, had an issue whereby there were some tests, like there was a test failing on the core team members' local machines, but it was succeeding on the CI. And that eventually turned out to be like in this issue that was created by Ray, because there is a cached version of AVL within users GNOME folder, like GNOME home directory. And for sort of reasons that I further explained in this issue, it's sort of preferred to read the documentation from that source code instead of the example source code. And that quickly created for me like a big rabbit hole or gopher hole, as we started calling them, where I sort of wondered about how can we actually make it so that we correctly resolve a dependency to the intended source code, which is how I came up with the idea of possibly having a resolve directive in GNOME-mods. I'll leave you to read this whole wall of text if you're interested. I know I'm very thorough, to say an euphemism, in my proposals, but they're sort of house exercises for me to try to make what I'm proposing clear in my head. So the rough idea is that we add a sort of directive to GNOME-mod, which essentially tells what environment we're targeting, and as a consequence, like where the dependency should be retrieved from. And for instance, what we would have for the sort of packages and realms within the examples directory is that these would mark to resolve their dependencies locally. So they would be loaded from within the examples folder. So if the package Gno.land PDM or ACL depends on Gno.land PDM or AVL, it loads from the examples folder and not from your GNOME home directory, which is what was happening. And instead, because when we are working also towards the direction of possibly having two test nets at the same time that we are kind of using, one on Gno.land, which is the portal loop test net, which is the one that is refreshed at every commit on master, and one which is the test4 test net, which is not simply. We sort of launch it at one point, we'll have multiple nodes, but it's kind of fixed in the sort of packages we launch it with. People in this current stage of development may want to target Gno.land or test4 depending on what they need, because even if they just need to rely on block heights or on timestamps, one sort of side effect that we will have with the portal loop testnet is that you cannot rely on block height and timestamps, because when the portal loop testnet is restarted, all the transactions from the previous from the previous execution are executed all at once at Genesis, right? So they all have a block height of 0 and the same timestamp. And so with this optics, like this is my idea to sort of make it so a developer, like we acknowledge the fact that there may be different versions of packages and maybe working with different sort of versions of packages depending on whether you're targeting like a testnet, like the test4 testnet, the portal loop testnet, or just making a local deployment and launching it on your local host server, essentially. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know that was maybe a lot, so if you need more time, of course, just write on this issue. I don't think I have linked it. Yes, here we go. But if there are any immediate feedback, I'd love to hear it.
Anyone? I guess, does anyone have feedback? Like B1T or?
If not, I'll just move to the next proposal, the last one for today.
So I could sit here honestly for hours and listen to your proposals. Yet will not be able to offer valuable feedback.
My high-level thinking is that we should basically make GNOME mode as optional as possible, especially for the things like fetching things. For the fetch, I think we should just use domain names. So right now we have a problem because we have Gno.land being the domain used on various testnets. In practice, we should maybe be able to import localhost or test4 directly. So there is one thing to do to make the blockchain maybe aware that it's intended to be used as this top-level domain. So maybe there is a mapping to do or whatever. Another one is to basically make something similar to how Go is working with Gno.land. So Gno.land will try to git clone a repo, or it will have a fallback to try to look if the web page contains something special, giving instruction to also on how to download something. And I think we should not do a web page, but we should instead having a contract responsible for this, like r/system/zones or r/system/ zones actually makes sense. So I'm more about making GNOME module optional for this part, while GNOME module is actually a way to have something very custom. While if you just want to download to use the logic code posted somewhere, you should basically be able to copy the thing in your browser and import it from your contract. And once we finish making a solution which is better without GNOME mod, then we can think about extending GNOME mod with Resolve or whatever to support other exceptions. But I think we have an initial problem right now. We have 5 blockchains considering they are all Gno.land. And in practice, now they have different dev nets. So one of them is test3, the other one is staging, etc. I think they should basically consider that the chain ID should be somewhere in the domain. So if we do something like this, we should basically be able to just import something from test3, another from test4, another from staging. And soon the good thing is that we will have Gno.land, the portal loop, to be reflecting what we have in Git. So most of the standard case will be managed by default. And then we can just try to say, okay, let's start allowing to import a specific testnet, which can be the BERT is 1, territory is 1, test4 especially, etc. Yeah, my feedback is maybe we'll go in this direction, but before going in that direction, I prefer to fix the GNOME mod-less experience.
So what you're kind of proposing is that we sort of put the information like in the domain part of the input path, right? And that, but you would still like make it that for now, when you actually upload a contract to a chain, you can only upload it with all the
It's not about, for sure, but it's not about uploading. It's about improving the local development. In practice, when you download a dependency, you won't upload it after. So this notion of upload as something special, but it's not because you need to download again. It's because you will need to have the same dependency and equivalent dependency where you plan to upload. So yeah, actually it's not, the mapping never exists. There is not, you will download dependencies, some of them are yours and some of them are developed by other people. So I think we should fix downloading things and having contract running locally, and then we should also improve chains to understand the contract is not existing, the contract is not matching the local chain. Before IBC, we should just prevent importing something which is importing a different domain name, and post IBC, we will have support to basically fetch missing source code from another chain. So yeah, I think the problem is more complex and needs changes in the Novemer to look at either the chain ID or another parameter we set when starting the node. We need to make the client more smarter based on the import path. Right now, it just open a Gno.land download will just open an RPC connection to a fixed host name. Instead, it should look at the air system zones or whatever to resolve the domain name based on the import path. And then we need to find a solution about publishing something on the same chain or another chain where the import paths are not compatible. And I think this is something maybe about having a way to publish not a single contract and having an instant answer that knows the blockchain refuse it, but to have something that will resolve locally the imports, make checks that all the imports are there, etc. So basically, what is the name of the tool created? Gno. No, sorry, to say the errors, but Gno.land. I think we should have something in the spirit of lint for the upload. So Gno make tx at pkg is basically stupid. It just try uploading something and it can fail. Maybe we can make some basic checks. But at some point, if you have a repository with multiple contracts and p/ and r/, etc., probably you will want to have a single command responsible to check what is missing locally on this chain, etc., especially if you plan to deploy on multiple chains, which is something common, for instance, on Ethereum, while you want to deploy the same group of contracts on Polygon, Ethereum, and other EVM chains. So if we have such tools able to look for not a single contract, but multiple ones locally, resolve the order, so you upload first the dependency and then the last contract, and the same thing understands the imports that are not your imports, but something that should be present on chain, then it could make the mapping, maybe patch the import if this is the intended solution, or at least write clear error messages. But yeah, I think the chain should be aware of right now we just hardcode Gno.land as a prefix. I don't know if we want to support other import paths for chains, but the chain should maybe be aware of how it could be called. And the client, so Gnomod, not the client, sorry, the Gnomod client, which is just specific about downloading things, should be made smarter to be able to use different RPCs depending on the import path. If we fix this, then I clearly think Gnomod can become a way to manage exceptions, but this should not be an exception. It should just be something. If you have access to a blockchain from your browser and you enjoy a library, you should just be able to import it. If you have access with your browser, even if it's a localhost one, you should be able to download the thing. But yeah, basically we have the download part, we have the publish part, but since you don't work alone but with other people, download and publish are not a 1-1 mapping. You can download 10 things and only upload 3 at the end, because 7 of them were other dependencies or already existing dependencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll wait for your comment on this so that we can further the discussion on this, and possibly try a different approach first. Quickly go over another bulky proposal that I did just yesterday. So this is something that I already possibly briefly mentioned on when I discussed about Sonio last week. This is a proposal that has been decoupled from that. And I originally mentioned in Sonio that what I intended was to have maps use AVL trees and as the underlying implementation. I since switched that to be maps, those binary trees, to be a bit more generic. Hopefully I'll give you a reason why. This is a whole section saying we currently use a lot of AVL trees. They have problems because they're not type safe. And ideally, we'd be using maps for storing the data instead. But maps don't have alphabetical ordering, so they're sort of and so the proposal I'm sort of making is that instead we have maps which have an underlying representation which has a guaranteed alphabetical ordering when you do a for range in them. So you can sort of range over the map, like, you know, in a sort of deterministic manner every time, as well. You know, that's another nice thing. The one thing that has sort of changed since I made this proposal is that it now just specifically says that this is only for ordered key types. So what this means, and it's a reference to the Go specification, ordered key types are essentially just 3 kind of types. There we go. So as you can see here from the Go spec, there are integer types, floating point types, and string types. And the reasoning for this is that for every other type that there is in Go, the less operator, so this operator or any of these operators are not defined. So you cannot like compare with less operator a Boolean or a complex number or a pointer. So what this means is that if you try to use any other type for the key of the map, then it will just continue doing the behavior that there currently is, which is for range iteration is random. I mean pseudo random, and you cannot rely on it to be always the same each time you run it. So this is kind of the first part. The second part that I want to work on top of this is essentially to reintegrate a feature that there currently is on AVL, and that I still think it would be nice, like would be a requirement to bring over from AVL into Gno. The idea here is that you can use the slicing operator. So it's the one where you have brackets x colon y. You know that Go for a slice, you can just, you know, use this syntax to make a sub slice of it essentially. So the idea here is to port that same syntax to create a submap, and this is, you know, how it's defined, but that's substantially the idea. So bringing over the same behavior that there is on maps to on slices to maps. And then finally, well, and this submap thing would also only work for ordered key types for the same reason, right? Because if you're getting from one key to the other, like we must be able to understand and use the comparison operators to understand which one to include or not. And then finally, it would be entail the introduction of a new built-in function, the key function, which given a map and an index, it returns like the key corresponding to that index, so that you can sort of get the first 50 values of a map like this. So doing the slicing that is defined here, from the 0th element to the 50th element. So this is probably still abstract, even if I tried to explain it to you. So of course I made a sort of healthy dose of examples to try to bring the point across. This is probably the most visually striking example. It comes from some code that was in Gno.chess. So this sort of bunch of code here becomes this one-liner with this suggested feature. So instead of using AVL, having to do type assertions and check that we actually got a value, and doing the append and the set, we just use this. User to gains would return the 0 value if it's not set, and we can just basically do the same thing much more easily. This one is not all that different from before and after. Aside from the fact that we have full type safety. So for AVL trees, we have a convention whereby we say that whereby we have comments next to the AVL tree saying what's the type of what's the key and what's the underlying value, underlying type for each value. So when you actually use it, you call player store.get, you get the value, and you cast it to something. In this case, instead, we get the player store. P is already of type pointer to player, so we can just call Marshall JSON on top of it, and so we get rid of the type assertions, and that's a good thing. Then there's an iteration example to show how the current iterate function would translate to a for loop. This also entails some code reduction because there are some things we don't need. But yeah, essentially, we just do a for loop on board threads. This would still be in the same alphabetical ordering that this is, and doesn't need type assertions, as I was saying before, and doesn't need this return false either, because we're just using a for loop instead of a closure. And finally, this one is also try to complete on that example by showing how you would do it to go from to implement pagination on sort of a map. And it sort of would be like this. Not a huge fan of the syntax, but also iterate by offset is currently unused anywhere in Gno code. So I sort of kind of think this could be a good compromise. There's a lot more details here on sort of some decisions and how the implementation could probably work. And also about considerations about gas cost and time complexity, as those who may be hearing this may be sort of thinking, well, aren't binary trees generally O log n instead of O of 1? And I would say yes, but we can sort of still make gas calculation based on our worst case scenario and make it sort of work well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If there are any sort of immediate comments or questions, I'm very happy to discuss right now. Otherwise, I'll just leave you to review this on your own time if you're interested.
Yes, I have a remark here. It's a general remark. In fact, my concern is to. In fact, I think it's a super interesting PR. It's a proposal. It's clear that it solves many problems that we have with Gno. My problem is with regard to the compatibility with the Go language. I think it would be worth to consider introducing a different term for this concept. This is not an array, this is not a map, this is an ordered map or S map or whatever, or dict maybe for dictionary, but something that doesn't collide with the map reserved keyword. So it would be easier to maintain the compatibility with the Go language. And I think all the work that you have done with regard to the syntax could be applied without having to change the syntax. For example, using the range, using the slice values, everything could be translated. It's just the fact that we introduce a third kind of object. There is already arrays and there is already maps for which, for example, the range is operating on, for which the index expressions are operating on. There would be in GNO there would be a third kind of object on which the index expressions and range expressions would apply, and that would be a new object, not map, but a new object and the goal would be to preserve the compatibility and the clearness compared to the existing Go language. So that is my my immediate feedback to this proposal.
Yeah, just one note on this. One sort of nice quote unquote thing that I sort of envisioned with this proposal is that with the way that it is implemented, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 90% sure that we could implement this without making any changes to the parser or the AST. So we can still reuse Go's parser to do all of this essentially. And that was part of like the way I sort of designed it. Though I do take your concern, and we'll consider whether it makes sense to introduce it like as a dict keyword instead of a map keyword.
Yes, agree with the parser and yes, I think it's to me this is the main remark I have. It has to be, for me, it has to be a new keyword, and that would make things super easy to understand and super clear to read, and also to consider with the, for example, if we want to translate a GNO program into Go, there will be no confusion with existing maps and their existing syntax.
Yeah.
If I may, I also have a little bit of a feedback on these immediate comments. I find this data struct extremely useful for one of the blockchain primitives, which may need a little bit of attention, or maybe more attention in the near future, and I'm talking about NFTs. Retrieving huge amounts of ordered sets, it's one of the things that's important in this area. I'm especially interested in two aspects of this. First of all, I don't know if I understand correctly.
We lost them, right?
Yeah.
Extremely useful for generating, Okay, and the second one is
Dragos, sorry, you cut off. We lost about half of what you were saying.
Okay, I'll try to say again. So I'm very.
Oops.
We don't hear you. Or I don't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
Objects and two ask. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll cut off and I'll write some comments afterward.
Thank you. Thanks.
I saw it go by quickly on your issue. I'm learning more about this Merkleization possibility, and as I understand it, if I have a map, a complex map, so maybe there's a bunch of keys and the keys point to structures, and then in one realm function call, we just modify the value of one of the fields in one of the structures that's a value of a map. And the Merkle tree works because the new state of the realm just has that change, and it refers back to the Merkle tree of the previous thing. But of course, that Merkle tree is a simplified representation, and so I don't expect a discourse to explain this, but my assumption would be that if the thing that's stored on the blockchain after I execute a realm function is just the kind of obvious simple diff, like a path to this data structure had this field changed. That means when a validator needs to load up a realm, it wants to represent it in memory as some fancy balanced tree structure, you would have to replay all those individual changes to reconstruct the map. Is that right? Am I even thinking correctly here? The alternative would be is that there's some sort of efficient binary representation of the map as it is in memory, and then there's some sort of a binary diff when it's done modifying that, and that binary diff is what's stored in the transaction log. But of course, that's not Merkleizable.
That's exactly the challenge with this map or dict or new types, is about making it Merkle tree friendly and optimized. The goal for Merkle trees are to be optimized in terms of what you save and for lookup, but for the lookup is not about loading the whole object, but especially for things like struct, slices, and maps. If you want to get my map and the key foo, ideally, we should just make two simple lookups. So if the map has 1 million entries, ideally we should just make two inexpensive lookups, or maybe more for other reasons. But we should never load the whole map if we don't need the whole map.
Yeah.
This is a current design, and this is what makes slices and maps actually hard to do, and this is what makes AVL tree super efficient, because with the AVL tree we are making not two entries more, because we need to look for the leaves. But in practice, it's you don't need to load everything. The challenge here is to one of the solutions is to basically make something that looks like a map when you use it, but store them as slices. Because if you have a slice and each entry is a key and value, and technically in terms of difference, when you save something, it's super efficient. You just save one key value and that's all. Mm-hmm. If you want to make a lookup, it becomes very painful and very slow and ineffective. One solution is to try finding using something similar to the AVL tree to store efficiently and having a decent lookup. So which is not exactly the minimal amount of lookups, but something between, because the tree is in the middle in terms of, so it's a good trade-off. The other solution is to extend the way we store the data. Right now, the way we store the data is basically we look up for realm dot variable index. By doing this, we need to first resolve the map to know what will be. We need to resolve the map like with a file system, where you have a first level of links to finally have the second. So you need to call a first variable to ask what is the link I am looking for, to then make a second query. One solution we were thinking with Jay for this specific case with map was to extend the way we store the variable and add a new dimension. So the way it's stored locally in the key value store, or actually key value store is a current implementation, but it's something we could change. One thing we're thinking about the API where we resolve a key, it's to have not only realm and variable index, but realm, variable index, and subkey. So something that will be used for maps and maybe for other types later. But having a way to store and look up not only a specific variable, but directly asking for the store manager to look for this object, this subkey. So one solution is one solution to have maps being usable by default, because one thing, as Mark said, was to make so if the implementation is different, the keyword should be different. But what we are looking for is to not force everyone to use AVL trees everywhere. We want people to use maps. So probably it won't be exactly the proposal from Morgan, which could be another proposal, maybe with a new keyword, or maybe just a user library or whatever. But we would want to have a map that map supported and efficient in terms of. So right now, maps is supported in the logic part of your code, but you cannot store them. If you try to have a global map, it won't work.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So you can use maps for logic, and in Go you have many logics where you have first an array, and using a map you can remove unique entries, whatever. So right now this works, but you cannot store them. We want to store them, but we just don't want to store them. We want to store them efficiently because it will become a very important type, and an important type in terms of storage, in terms of speed, and in terms of IBC with the Merkle tree stuff. So we need to store them efficiently for write, for lookup, and also for Merkle tree in terms of having an external client able to monitor the Merkle tree and reconstruct a type-safe map representation in their language. So the change is huge. What Morgan made is probably not the perfect solution for this case, but I think it addresses a lot of concerns we had, and we should definitely study more this solution. But the final solution for maps is something new, probably an AVL tree or an extension of the way we store on the disk to have an advanced lookup with maybe a subkey system. And just to give you an overview, we're even thinking with Jay to have an exception when the map is small enough. We don't store it as a map, but as a slice. And when the length increase, then we switch to another format because it may be more efficient. And yeah, if maps becomes something we want to use very frequently, and they can become the bottleneck in terms of code logic, it could be, even if we don't like it, it could be a nice thing to have an exception for small maps. So we store them as arrays. We simulate for Merkle trees that they are, or we write them in Merkle trees as maps, but internally we store them maybe as array for the memory part. So a lot of concerns. Just to tell you, this is a complex topic.
Very. Of course, the reason I'm thinking about it is the social app we're having is going to be very data intensive. So I'm starting to try to wrap my head around understanding how, millions of posts can be stored efficiently. Questions like that.
Yeah. So first thing, you should rely on this feature of the Merkle tree and the realm state management is that if you have a huge array or a huge map, the engine should help you not having to load everything. So if you make stupid things like iterating around the array, we can't help you making good performance.
Right.
If you make sure that you are always getting by keys, like even with an AVL tree, it should not be a problem to have very huge maps, because for the usage, you will only, you can make an efficient code even if the data structure is huge. In practice, maybe we need to improve it, but right now we have the lazy load system that could make it possible to have efficient contracts with a lot of data. But yeah, this is an interesting advanced case, the social app, and I think it will probably be our benchmark system to know if Gno.land and Merkle tree system are efficient or not.
Yeah. Have fun breaking things.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for breaking anything.
Do you want to respond to Mark's comment? He says not having a global map is a feature.
Not storing a map is actually a feature to me. Yeah, but yeah, for the spirit of having concise contracts, I think we need them. Or yeah, just look at the current contract. Most of them, the complex part is when we need to use AVL trees, and maybe we can do it differently. But yeah, actually, it will be a hack. It will be like storing arrays and simulating that they are maps each time we are using them. And in practice, it will be worse because we will need to load all the data, simulate that we're in a map, or create custom lookup functionalities. Sometimes we can clearly, and I think some contracts are easy to optimize, but most of them should use map for good reasons. Because actually, Gno is about not using databases. And I agree with you on Go, I will avoid using maps to store anything, but because I have databases. Here we replace most of the databases by maps to prevent having to create a custom engine that will look up everything and apply filters. Because without a blockchain, it's probably efficient to do this. On a blockchain with lazy lookup, it's clearly a nightmare. We should embrace direct lookup as much as we can.
If we don't have anything else, I think we can end it here as we run even by the 2-hour mark.
I was gonna say we're trying to shorten it, but we've elongated it. Maybe we just need a regular Morgan Morgan public call.
Yeah, just the idea is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Norman. I think you had a question. Okay, it's answered. Okay, well, on that note, then, if there is, well, I mean, there's probably a lot else, but anyway, we can wrap it up for this time. Right? I think that's good. And then I will take action with John, and we will work together on how to take a stab at what's been talked about for a new format. All right. Thanks. Oh.
Yeah. One quick question. So does this mean we're going to have a like one of the two type of calls from next week?
Do you mind giving? I'd love to chat with John and see how we can come up with it. Do you mind giving us just like a day or two to let you know? I know
Yeah,
it's
of
kind
course.
of, but we'll do it. We'll do it as soon as possible to see if we start it next week, or if we want to start the following week when we kind of have more of a like a structure and process in
Right.
place.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Is Dragos? Do you have your hands raised?
I think it was raised from before.
Okay, it's a constant. Okay.
Yeah, I was cut off, so I'll resort to writing the comments later on.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your time, and hopefully we'll get these sorted out and shortened. So see you on the next one. See you on Slack and Signal. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Good night, guys.